that's my cue to say really welcome today. I hope that you guys are having a good day so far. Yesterday we talked about our nutrients that we need to get in. It's about the eating real food, mostly plants, and we were eating the rainbow with a rainbow salad yesterday. And we are using our mason jars. Hey, we're using mason jars again today. So if you're watching this on the recording, and you don't have mason jars, these are a handy tool to be able to do things for yourself. And today we're talking about breakfast. And I want to start by talking about sugar. And I'd like to dive in. I have a little bit of a presentation I will share with you. And then we're going to do looking at some breakfast, and we're going to make overnight oats today. And I'm really excited for today's presentation. All right. This is all about day 3 on our 5-day Too Tired to Cook. It's a bit of a challenge. I'm challenging you to take in all of these 5 different foods that you can, and I guess foods that you can eat that are easy to make, and to add them. Pick one if you want. If you want, you can add all 5 of them to your daily routine. And this will help to nutrify your body, because when we're tired, it's because we don't have enough nutrients and our body is craving those nutrients. And sometimes when we're eating things and we have these cravings, like for, I don't know, cake or bread or pasta, whatever it is, it's because our body is trying to find a way to get the nutrients into us. And so today we're going to talk a bit about processed foods, but I want to talk mostly about not my favorite, but sugar. Oh, hang on a second. I have my quote I added in, which is my favorite quote. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. We talked about this yesterday. Just take one step. And the one step that I'm asking you to take this week is to pick one of the strategies that I'm giving you this week, the tools to add some more nutrients to your body, to your lifestyle. And these are really simple things. Our Monday, we did a soup. You throw all of the veggies into the pot, add some spices, some water or some broth, and let it simmer for a couple of hours. And when I did mine on Monday, it simmered for more than 2 hours, and it was so delicious, because the more it simmers, the flavors just meld with each other. And so you can develop more flavor by letting it simmer for a little bit longer. So I'm going back to the start of my journey. And by now you probably know my journey really well. Oh my gosh. I was faced 11 and a half years ago, 12 years ago, with gaining weight. I was so tired. My gosh, I was so tired. I was wearing my haggard look like a badge of honor. I thought it was because I was so busy doing so much. I was a superwoman, but I didn't look like a super mom. I looked like a haggard old lady. And I had headaches. My headaches were actually so bad, I was taking Tylenol with codeine to try and alleviate them, and they would come back day after day. And a lot of times I'd wake up in the morning with them, and some days they were so bad I couldn't even get out of bed. And I found out that part of the reason I was having these headaches every day was because I was taking over-the-counter medication and self-medicating, and that was actually aggravating my headaches. I also had some other health concerns, but nothing that took me to the doctor. But I knew it was a slippery slope, and I wanted to make changes. And this is where sugar comes into the picture. I happened to see a talk at a business conference by John Gray, who is the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And he happened to be talking about sugar. And here's what he told me about sugar. There is this vicious cycle. I knew that sugar is bad for me. I think most of us get that sugar isn't good for us. And I'm talking refined sugar, not the sugar that comes from our whole foods. Nature gives us sugar or glucose that we need to fuel our body in the whole foods that we can eat. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the processed foods, the refined sugar. And so what I didn't realize in this process is what this was doing to me. And so when I was eating the sugar, it was giving me a dopamine hit. And then from the dopamine hit, I would be crashing. And then from there, the cravings would return and I would be so hungry and looking for more sugar. And then the whole cycle would be like rinse and repeat. I would have the sugar. It would have the sugar, move to the kind of the next thing. And then also what happens is we spike our insulin because the insulin is there because the glucose in our bloodstream is too much. So we're going to release insulin from the liver and pancreas. And then here's also where the crash comes. And then you feel like my moods were down. I was feeling so low. And then back into the fridge I went. And then there's the cortisol would spike. And again, all of my hormones were being disrupted. All of my cravings, my brain was looking for more food and I was feeding it sugar. And when I saw this, I realized I was addicted to sugar. And so my moods would go up and down as I went through this cycle. And I had no idea that this is what was happening to me. But I knew that I needed to do something about it. Once I knew, I couldn't unlearn it, and I knew I needed to do something. But at the time, I didn't know what to do. And I just want to tell you that there's also this whole idea of hidden sugars. So when we're eating processed foods, they are high in sugar, oil, and salt, which is the SOS trio. And a lot of times they use tricky words or tricky labels to make it sound like everything is better. So one of the things you might see is natural sweeteners. So that makes it sound healthy, but it's still sugar. And yesterday when we did our quiz, remember we said, is natural healthy when we did our quiz? And the answer was no. There's no regulations on how you can use the word natural. Natural sweeteners can be things that are like agave, coconut sugar, honey, and brown rice sugar. And some of these maybe not so good for us. They also could have sneaky names. Instead of saying sugar, they can say dextrose, maltose, fructose, high fructose corn syrup, cane juice, evaporated cane syrup, and it could be like a fruit juice concentrate. And often that concentrate is sugar, has a lot of sugar in it. And so all of this is things that we need to be aware of when we are choosing the foods that we eat and when we're doing our grocery shopping. And this brings me to my little demo. So I'm going to stop sharing right now and we're going to do a little demo. So today we are making breakfast. And I have 5 different breakfast options for you. One of them is the overnight oats that I made. So we're going to I'm going to show you how easy it is to make overnight oats with a plant-based milk. And I'm even going to make some plant-based oat milk, which is one of the ones that's all the rave. Here is my overnight oats here. You can see that's the overnight oats. It's basically, this is a 2-cup mason jar or a pint or 500 milliliter, depending on where you're from. That's how much is in the overnight oats. I also have, let's say for oats, maybe we have Quaker oats. We buy a package. This is maple and brown sugar, all ready to go. You just need to add some boiling water and you're ready to go. So you could take this to work, and this is one serving. All right. I don't know which you prefer, but we'll see, because we're going to compare them all when I'm done. So that is one serving of Quaker maple and brown sugar oats. Easy to buy in the store. Now, what about granola? Because that has been the rave of being a healthy alternative. So here I have some granola. I got this at Bulk Barn. So if you're not in Canada, Bulk Barn is a place where you can go to get bulk foods, and they're in canisters, and it's a Canadian store. They have some it's great for things like I like to go there for spices. Let's say I'm trying a new spice. I don't want to buy a whole bottle of it. I can just go and get literally a little bag with enough that I need for my recipe, and it'll probably cost me 15 cents, maybe 25 now. But anyway, so this is a granola, just a plain basic granola. So we can see that. And then I have another cereal that has been touted as being a healthy, actually for weight loss at one point, and that's Special K. So this is the Special K with strawberries in it. Can't remember what it is. Red berry Special K. And that's a cup of red berry Special K. And then if you wanted just to grab and go, you could do something like a granola bar or a energy bar. So I have this is a Lara bar, and you can see, I'll put it in here for the context, which you can go in there. Now, the Lara bar this is actually, I would say if you're going to use energy bars, this is a good one because it's got cashews, dates, and apple, and that's dried apple. That's it. There's no preservative, no other additives. So if you were going to do a bar, something like this, read your labels. It says when you're eating your food, read the food, not just eat it. And so for this one, like I say, it's only got 3 ingredients and it's got good ingredients in it. So that's 5th option. So let me see if I can show you let's get this over here. So we have overnight oats, Quaker oat, maple and brown sugar. Then we have granola. This is a cup of granola. Then we have Special K, red berry Special K, which is a little bit more, but it's flaky and airy. And then we have our granola bar, our Lara bar, which isn't a granola bar, it's an energy bar. So those are some choices that you might make for your breakfast. So now we're going to go into comparing them. This is the fun part. I love this. All right, so let's go back to our presentation. And we're going to say, let's go here. So we're going to start off with the granola. So a cup of granola, if you can see me, maybe not. A cup of granola. I added the calories because I want you to see what the food value is. Now, I do not believe in counting calories, but I think we all get an idea of how much, like the food value roughly of what you're getting. So this granola has 520 kilocalories in it. So that is the most. The rest of them are 250 and under. So it's got twice as much calories as everything else. Now look at the sugar content. I'm going to give you this. It's 5¼ teaspoons of added sugar. So I've got my sugar out here. We're going to go through this. Hang on. All right. Let me get my measuring spoon, and we're going to do all right. So here is our granola, and here's how much sugar is in that granola. You can see. I don't know. Any comments? What do you think? Looks like a lot of sugar to me.
Lots of sugar to me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Stack that on top of there. Yeah. It's like a almost like a quarter. If you put it in there, it would come to a quarter of it. So for where I just want to say we're doing some comparisons right now. So we have somebody who joined. We're doing comparisons of some different breakfast foods that we could eat. So this is a plain granola from Bulk Barn, which is a bulk store in Canada. And this is how much sugar is in it. All right. And this is a cup. It's not even a cup, but this is a serving size. It's just under a cup. I didn't have enough for a full cup. And it's not mine, by the way. I'm not a big breakfast eater, but that's not what I would eat for breakfast if I was eating breakfast. All right. So let's go back to it. So the Bulk Barn now, again, it has 10 milligrams of salt, which isn't too bad, but it has some salt in it. And it has 13 grams of oil in it. And I didn't measure the oil, but I feel like we should measure the oil. So here's another thing that you can get. So 13 grams. So this is a great tool to have a scale. And so you can, when I'm measuring something like half a cup of not peanut butter, almond butter, and you think, oh, that's a lot. What I do is I will I'll figure out how many grams it is, and I'll weigh it so that I don't have to muck around with how sticky it is. All right. I'm getting out my olive oil. I'm getting my scale going, and we're going to find out how much 13 grams of oil is right now. Are you ready? Who thinks that's a lot?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you can't see me. Oh, let me see if you can see me. I'm at 8, 9, 12. Oh, it went to 13. So there's our granola. There's 13 grams of oil and 5¼ teaspoons of sugar. And that's probably why it is 500 and something calories in it as well. So that's a lot.
It sure is. When you do it the way you did, it really is an eye opener, isn't it?
It is. It is very much an eye opener. I think it's the winner, right? Unfortunately. So that's that. So big sugar, big oil, and it's marketed as a healthy food, but it's highly processed, and you can see how much sugar, oil, and salt it has in it. So it's got a big SOS factor. Now we're moving to the next one, which is our little tiny thing. I hope you can see this. I don't know if you can, but this is a little tiny serving of Quaker maple and brown sugar oatmeal. So this is one packet, and it's basically 43 grams. It has 160 kilocalories, so it's on the low end. So you could probably say do double this to really make it equivalent to what you're getting for the other things that we're doing, to make it equivalent to our homemade. But it's still going to be less than a cup of food. And you add water to this. So this one has 12 grams of sugar, which is 3 teaspoons of sugar in it. And that's for the taste, that maple sugar taste. And it has 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt in it, 260 milligrams of salt. And it's, wow, you don't need salt. Why? I don't know why you would put salt in oatmeal, but actually I do, because I used to put salt instead of sugar in my oatmeal, but I put my own salt in it. And I wouldn't do that anymore. I just eat it plain. So this has hidden sugars. It's got high salt, and it will create cravings for us. It has minimal fat, but it may contain modified palm oil, but really no fat. Now we're going to move on to our next one, which is our Special K red berries that I have here. So this is about a cup. Now it is 140 kilocalories, so it's a small amount. And you could probably say, to make it equivalent to the oatmeal, boost it up to 2 cups. So it would fill this mason jar. And again, that does not include any milk, whether it's plant milk or dairy or whatever you're doing. And it has 10 grams of added sugar, which is 2.5 teaspoons. So it's half of what the granola had in it. But if we double that to make it more equivalent in calories to what the oatmeal is, then we're at 5 teaspoons of salt. It does have about 1/3 of a teaspoon of salt in it. That's 190 milligrams of salt. So again, I would be very cautious about the salt. Salt actually makes you bloat, and then it actually causes cravings as well. So watch for these hidden salts. And it does have a little bit of oil, 0.5 of a milligram of oil. So I would say that's probably like a teaspoon or so, maybe a tablespoon. I don't know. That was 13, which is maybe getting on to 1/4 of a cup, getting close to that. So that was that. Can let them in. Okay, so that is that. And so the Special K is really been marketed, at least I remember when I used to see the commercials, it was marketed as a weight loss. Special K was a way to lose weight, a healthier alternative, kind of a more sophisticated alternative for women, but see how you look there. Now let's look at our Larabar. So our Larabar actually is getting into now the healthier aspects here, because again, it only has cashews, dates, and dried apples. So it doesn't have anything. It's all coming from natural sugar. So it's 4.5 teaspoons of sugar coming from natural fruit. And so it's also no salt, and it has 10 grams of oil coming from the cashews. Right. Now, what's the difference? Because any sugar will be broken down into glucose to use as fuel in our body that comes from the actual sugar, like the dates, like the apples, is natural sugar that our body, it doesn't come just as sugar, like an IV of sugar, and to spike your blood sugar. It comes within a package of fiber as well, and it takes longer to digest. It has a lower glycemic index. It's lower on the glycemic index if you're looking at that. And it is got minerals and vitamins in it. So it comes from a whole food. It's not a whole food here in the bar, but it comes from a whole food and it hasn't been ultra processed. I get it that sometimes we're in a hurry. Maybe you want to have a Lara bar or some kind of a bar or snack that when you're hungry or when you're traveling or something. So this kind of thing would be a good option. And read your label. That's the main point here. So this is a whole food, no added sugar, but it's still high in natural sugars. But it's way better alternative than the granola, the brown and maple and brown sugar oatmeal, and also the Special K. And now we come to our overnight oats. So here's our overnight oats, which is basically pretty close to 2 cups worth. It's about 250 kilocalories. So it's right in the middle of everything. It does have sugar from naturally occurring from the dates. There are actually dates in here. I have a 1/4 cup of dates in the recipe. And so that's 16 grams of sugar. But again, it's whole food. It's full of fiber and natural sugar. There's that word natural again. There is no salt, and it does have 2 to 3 grams of oil that is coming from I have hemp parts and also, what do you call that? Oh, I don't know why I can't think of it right now. What's this? Gloria, help me out. Oh,
It's pretty small, but it might be pepitas or pumpkin seeds or
no, it's not.
No.
It's just, oh my God. Flaxseed. Thank you. Oh,
flaxseed. Okay.
this is flaxseed.
Okay.
Okay. I had a little brain misfire there. And sometimes the harder you try and find the search for the word, the further it goes away from you. So that's where the oil is coming from. So it's totally omega-3 fatty acid, good for you of oil. And then this is all I wanted to say. I said this yesterday, is where are you on your vitality meter, where you want to be as a thriving superhero up at the top. And if you're anywhere else, you do have the opportunity to make some changes to add more nutrient dense foods into your lifestyle and move that needle away from the red zone, the yellow zone, and over to that thriving superhero. It is possible, and it's possible to do it by eating real foods. And I think I just want to say, I already mentioned this yesterday, my public enemy number 2, the crimes against our health, is sugar and refined carbohydrates. And that includes things like white pasta, white flour, breads, all of that stuff. And I know not always easy to give all that stuff up, but I think it's to realize where it's at and know who you are and what you are. When I heard about what sugar does to our body, I knew it was for me that I was addicted to sugar. And so I know that I cannot have any, because once I have some, I'm not going to be able to stop at 1 cupcake, half a cupcake, whatever it is. And I read something recently that actually made me pretty sad. It was in a sugar addiction Facebook group, and the person had said that they started seeing a therapist, and they really liked the therapist. But when they started talking about food, the therapist said you need to be intuitive eating and listen to what your body says. And sometimes our mind takes over, not our body. And so she said, you should go ahead and have 1 cupcake, just don't eat all of them. And the thing about if you're addicted, and maybe you're addicted, maybe you're not, but if you know that you have an addiction, you know that you cannot stop at one. I could do that. I can put a nice plate with one cupcake on it and go and sit down and eat it. And then the cupcakes that are in the cupboard are calling my name. And eventually I'll go back and get another one and another one. And then I start feeling really crappy about myself because I just let those cupcakes take control of me. So it's about knowing who you are. I have a daughter who could eat, 5 potato chips, and that's enough for her. I eat 5 potato chips and I know the bag is in the cupboard. I'm running to the bag. If I don't eat any potato chips, I'm good. As soon as I have some, the chips are calling to me. I have this amazing recipe for crackers that are so good for you. I love them, but they call to me. So I don't make them very often because I know that as soon as they're in the house, they're calling to me to eat them, even though they're good. I don't want to eat like a whole batch of crackers in one sitting, but I will because that's one of the trigger foods for me. So it's all about knowing yourself and being aware and knowing what your triggers are, knowing what you're eating, right? So I'm going to put myself over here because we're going to start making our oats. I'm so excited. We're going to make our overnight oats. So it's about knowing, what are you eating? What's in this? So if you want to eat Special K, it's all good. If you want to have this, but know what's in it and read your labels, right? This is a good Larabar. It's not too bad, right? If you're looking for something. And processed foods, they're a convenience. And sometimes they're more than just a convenience. It's something we feel like we can't live without because we're busy in our lives, being busy. And it's about being aware of what you're eating. So here's my overnight oats. I made that yesterday. How do you make that? Now, this is the part. Let's get rid of all these processed breakfast foods here. So easy to make. I have a jar. So you could line up a bunch of mason jars and add in all your foods to this. I have my oats. So I am going to do half a cup of oats into my mason jar. And again, you want that for, let's say you want to do 5 days of overnight oats for your weekday breakfast. Line up 5 jars, add your oats. I have some hemp hearts here. This is giving us fiber and amazing fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids, along with other nutrients as well. So I'm going to do a tablespoon of that. I keep them in a mason jar and I keep them in the freezer just for storage. Then I have some chia seeds, amazing fiber. All of this is all fiber here, by the way. And we need fiber for good gut health. And the only place we get fiber is in plant foods. There's no fiber in any animal food. So I'm going to take a tablespoon of chia seeds. They soak up the water. They really expand. You could make a chia pudding too. It's pretty easy to make for a breakfast idea. And they are huge benefit of fiber. I have I'm going to do a tablespoon of, this is just a little over a tablespoon, so I could put the whole thing in. I've got my flaxseed. Now I'm just going to use the whole thing. You don't have to measure like exact. You can change it up to what you like. If you don't like something, you don't have to put it in. Now, that tablespoon of flaxseed, you could get something like that in taking something like Metamucil. But why do that when you can get the real thing at home and not get all of the other additives that come with these things like Metamucil or gummy fiber? Use the real thing. Now, so I'm going to just stir this up. Now I could, if I wanted to, take this and just put a lid on it and leave it. And then the night before, add my liquid and add some dates and put it in the fridge. I think you can make up to 3 days worth of overnight oats at one time. I wouldn't do more than that. Or you can make 3 days, but let's say you want it for the whole week. You could save a couple of jars just like this, and then just add some dates and some oat milk or other plant-based milk the night before. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday night, you make 3 jars. Have 2 like this that are only the dry ingredients. And then on Wednesday night, you add your plant milk and you add your dates and put it in the fridge for the other 2 days. Or you could make it for Saturday too, because I know I'm busy on Saturday morning. And then you could do a special breakfast for Sunday. All right, so there's my oats. I'm going to add in about a 1/4 cup of dates, so a few dates. And you could use any dried fruit that you want. Any dried fruit works. I'm just going to cut it so it's more bite size. Add it in, 1, 2. And then the good thing about it is then you get these, it softens. These are soft already because it's fresh, but it's softened. It'll soften as in the, and take up the liquid in the overnight oats, and you get these flavor bites. Oh my God, such beautiful flavor bites that you get. All right, I'm just gonna let in. Okay, so these are the flavor bites. So I've got a couple of dates. Add more if you want more dates. Go for it. And then I'm just going to stir it up because I don't want them all in a glom, in a ball. I want them all over, dispersed throughout my thing. So there we go. Now I got to add my oat milk. So you can buy oat milk. Very easy to buy, and I have some, but they tend to have additives in it. So if you're buying your oat milk, look for one, again, that read the labels. Make sure you know what it's in it, because a lot of them have gums and emulsifiers so that it keeps the liquid uniform. Because when I make my oat milk here, it's gonna, all the heavier ingredients fall to the bottom, so it separates out. But that's okay. I just need to shake it up and pour it. But making oat milk is so easy. Takes no time at all. So I've got this one, you probably want to have a high-speed blender. If you are planning to do plant-based, I highly recommend getting a good high-speed blender. It will save you a lot. I wanted just to do a little shout out. Here's the oats that I'm using. These are Canadian. So if you're in Canada, I bought this at Costco. They are sprouted. So the sprouting process makes them more digestive. It gets rid of some of the things like enzyme inhibitors that are not great for us. And so they sprout it. It's also organic. It is, they're saying it's glyphosate free. Glyphosate is one of the most used pesticides that actually is banned in a lot of places. It's banned, it's in Roundup. That's basically what it is. It's banned in Ontario for sure. It is not good for us, but this has that, and it's also gluten-free. And I'm going to say, why would you think you want oats that are gluten-free? Aren't they gluten-free? The answer is yes, they are gluten-free, but they are stored in a facility and processed in a facility that has gluten products like wheats and stuff. So if you want to make sure it's gluten-free, you actually have to look for gluten-free. And so I'm going to put a cup of oats into my high-speed blender right now. And then I'm going to add some filtered water. Okay, where's my filtered water? I've got, you could add 4 cups. I like to have it a little thicker. So you add the liquid to whatever thickness of oat milk you want. So if you like it thinner, then add more, like 4 cups. I'm going to add, if I can keep it from spilling, about 3.5 cups here. And then I'm going to put my timer on. And this one, you want to make sure you don't blend it too long. So I think the recommendation is about 45 seconds to blend it. So I'm going to get my timer out to make sure I don't, if you over blend it, it gets glommy and gloppy. I don't know if that's a real word, but that's my word. It's gloppy. All right, so let me get my timer out because I don't want it to be too much. I'm going to put my stopwatch on, and here we go. That's about 30 seconds here. I could do a little more, but I think that's good. And now I have oat milk. Now, what you can do is you can take a milk bag, which has very thin holes. It's a bag with very fine mesh on it to strain out any of the fiber that's left. And I find with the oat milk, since I'm putting it back, oh yeah, see all that stuff at the bottom? It's soaked to the bottom. So I'm okay with that. And I'm actually putting it back into my oats. So I'm okay with that. But you could use like a cheesecloth or a milk bag to strain out the fiber and the filament that is left. But I'm okay with that for what I'm doing. And I will see if I can show you a nut milk bag. Right now, I don't have one. Mine has a hole in it, so I'm getting a new one. So that's, and I'm just going to add my milk. I hope it doesn't spill. And just now, and you can do it to whatever thickness you want. And just stir it up. Add your lid. Put it in the fridge overnight for at least 4 hours, and then it will be like this. So this one is fairly runny. If you want it thicker, you can put less oat milk if you want, or any other nut milk. If you want it thinner, runnier, you can add more milk. And that, I think, brings us to, yeah, here's the oat milk or overnight oats. And I know a lot of people say it. Oh, the other thing you could do is add cinnamon, or you can add maple syrup if you want it sweeter. But I find with the dried fruit, it's very sweet for me. And you could add some berries to it, some other fruit, have it with apple, and you have a beautiful breakfast. And if you're going to work, just grab it out of the fridge and take it to the office and eat it at the office or while you're commuting, however you want to do it. All right. Beautiful. And a lot of people tell me that it sounds really gross, that it doesn't sound appealing to them when you think about doing this. But to be honest, when they try it, I tell them just try making it and see how you feel after you've made it. And I have yet to find anybody who told me they thought it still was gross after they tried it. Gotta find a place to put my spoon. And I got a little piece of the date, and it melts in your mouth at that point. So good, so easy. And which do you want on that list of all the things we tried? I think to me, this is where I want to go. I know what the ingredients are. I know that it's all good for me. It's all whole foods. And it's going to get me sustain my energy, and it's going to sustain me feeling full for the whole morning. And some of my clients have said, oh, I still am full at 2 p.m. for sure. All right. I know Gloria put a couple of comments here. Oh, love the sprouted oats. Yeah, it's so good. And they are so good for you. I don't know if there's any questions for what we did today.
I just had a little comment on your oat milk. I made it once, but I didn't like how, maybe I blended it too much. Like I noticed, because the almond milk you blend for 1 minute.
Yeah.
And so you said 45 seconds. Maybe that would have made the difference. I found it a little bit maybe slimy or something after it sat for a while.
Yeah. I have heard like that. That's definitely that it does go weird if you blend it too much.
Yeah, I'll have to try it again.
Yeah, try it again. I don't leave it sitting too long either. That's, I guess, the other thing. But try it with, I think even 30 seconds is long enough.
Okay.
So try it on a shorter amount of time. But I have read that if you, and I haven't tried it, but if you blend it too long, it's got a lot of, yeah, because it does have a lot of carbohydrate in it compared to, so you have to be really careful about how long you blend it. So yeah, try it again, see how it goes. I'd love to hear from you how it goes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah,
when you try it. And so I'm going to pop the recipes into the chat. I forgot to pop yesterday's recipe in for our rainbow salad and our quick dressing. So let me do that right now for you. I got to find it here. So I'll start with the overnight oats overnight oats recipe here. And yeah, I like the sprouted oats too. And they're actually a bit chewier, I find. And I actually like that. And I have one other hack for you that's the overnight oats. And I'm just going to get the recipe for the other one that we did yesterday, the mason jar salad. Come on, tell me that you're there. And then I'm just going to do one other hack for you for your oats and your breakfast. There's the mason jar salad, a rainbow mason jar salad. And if you're used to calling it canning jars, now you know what, I think it's probably a Canadian thing, right? So if you don't want to do overnight oats and you can just cook up oats. It takes around 10 minutes. It's very easy to do. But I don't even cook my oats. Here's what I do in the morning. I take my jar of oats. I add, and you can put the oats in a mason jar too. I dump a bit into a bowl, maybe a cup into a bowl, and I add boiling water to it and let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I add water to cover it and maybe a little more, and you can judge how thick it is. And I have oats. I don't even cook it. I just do that. And I like that better because I find that when you cook the oats, they get gelatinous. Maybe that's what the same thing with it being slimy if you overwork it. It gets, when you cook the oats, it gets gelatinous. And I'm not crazy about that texture. So all I do is I just pour hot water on it. So you could take a mason jar of oats. You could add some cinnamon to it, some dates to it, get to the office, take the kettle, pour water on it, let it sit, and then you've got another easy way to have a good breakfast that's got lots of nutrients and will keep you satisfied and full till lunchtime. All right. And tomorrow we are going to be using our blender again. And we're going to talk about smoothies tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. Smoothies are a great way to get a lot of nutrients into your body and digest quickly, because the blending basically does some of the digesting for you. All right. And if there's no questions, everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us, whether it's on the recording or live here. And we'll be back again tomorrow, same time.